it all started going downhill
Wolverine
since
finally saved the MCU multiverse saga by establishing the concept of anchors,
Oh,
aka
brother,
linchpin
better.
characters whose deaths triggered the death spirals of their universes. While just an unconfirmed rumor from
'Cause
Super Daniel
fuck,
RPK,
they
this
better
whole
bring it
concept of
back.
anchors could be Deadpool.
See, they could bring back Iron Man with this. Like, save Iron Man, because after. Oh, fuck me. Fuck me. Damn. I just dropped hell on my cat's litter. It's clean, but like, fuck. Such a waste. But I'm gonna mute real quick so I can vacuum it out. Well, actually, no, I'm gonna keep talking. But I'm gonna mute when I actually vacuum. Like, they could save Iron Man, because what? Robert Downey Jr. He's like, oh, I want to come back as Iron Man. He's embedded within me type shit. So if he's like, if they give him the chance with this shit, oh shit, my bad. If they give him the chance with this shit, I think he's taking the chance. But I think they will, because they all started going down when Robert Downey Jr. died or Iron Man died and Captain America died and got replaced. But I doubt they'll bring back Captain America after what they did. But they for sure gotta do something about it. Like, there's no way
of
they're
owning up
not
to why
gonna.
Marvel Studios projects
They're
just
gonna hit
didn't
at
hit
something like
quite as
that.
hard after Avengers Endgame, and why 2017's Logan was such a critical nexus moment for the X-Men universe. So in this video, let's do our best to explain what anchors are and how they align with the concept of Molecule Man, Owen Reese, and Jonathan Hickman's time runs out, and the Secret Wars crossover event that the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer confirmed that Marvel Studios is definitely building up to. When the first Deadpool and Wolverine trailer dropped in February, the trailer ended with the sighting of Secret Wars number 5, the comic book from Jonathan Hickman's 2015 Secret Wars crossover event, an issue that explains how Dr. Doom became God Emperor Doom by giving up his long quest to locate every Molecule Man in every universe and disable the Molecule Man and thus prevent the Beyonders' use of these triggers to enact the destruction of that universe, and instead gather as many Molecule Men as possible and use them as a conduit to steal the Beyonders' power and absorb that power into his body. So the Molecule Man, aka Owen Reese, was a multiversal doomsday device used by the Beyonders, where one Molecule Man exists in every universe, and if that Molecule Man dies, that universe also dies, creating an incursion with another universe and leading to the gradual erosion and death of the multiverse. This is what the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer confirmed is part of the game plan for Marvel Studios in the multiverse saga on this road to Secret Wars. But we've been a bit unsure how this would connect to like Kang the Conqueror, at least as the character has been established in Loki and in Quantumania, or whether it would mean the studio might be like expediting Dr. Doom. Well, in the past week, Scooper Daniel RPK reported an unconfirmed claim about Deadpool and Wolverine's plot that, if true, could connect all of these dots. Quoting Daniel here, quote, "It's called an anchor, and it means that when that being dies, their universe will start to decay until it vanishes. The process takes time. It's not happening right after the person dies." So I think the idea here is that Deadpool would be recruited by the TVA and Paradox's department on some mission involving these anchors from dead or dying universes, and that all of these cameos we see in Deadpool Wolverine might be anchors of universes that have been erased. Wolverine could be one such anchor. The moment he died in the Fox X-Men universe, like, you know, died, was in the 2017 Logan film that we know Deadpool and Wolverine is revisiting the gravesite of. And that could be the moment that that universe was really marked for its extinction. Now, if you're like me, you might have some follow-up questions to this whole idea of anchors. Like, what happens if an anchor dies from old age or natural causes? This would just be me, like, extrapolating the logic based on what Daniel claimed, so don't take these as, like, official answers. But I would say that if an anchor were to die, even from old age or natural causes, that could still
Can you
be
please
that
still
that
come back?
universe is just at its natural expiration or its sell-by date. Like maybe in some universes, an anchor would die of like a stroke at age 90 in the year 2077, or at a heart attack at age
Oh, my mom's
111
calling
in
me.
the year 39. And so long, and thanks for all the fish. In the MCU sacred timeline alone, it was suggested that in Loki season 1 that all natural disasters on Earth and other planets are escalating, like the 2050 Haven Hills, Alabama Category 8 hurricane, or the destruction of Lamentus 1 in 2077. In the Marvels, the decline of the Kree homeworld of Hala as their sun burnt out. All of these apocalyptic events could be reflecting the death of some anchor being in that reality, regardless of the cause. Like, we are currently seeing the death of the Marvel universe that we've seen in the MCU.
Yeah.
Meaning that some anchor of the past might have already died, and we just didn't know they were an anchor. But also,
and so it's like going downhill.
The death of the anchor, but the premature or unnatural death of the anchor. Like if the anchor dies before their time.
Damn, they bring all this in just because
like
they're
a violation
that
of
sea is going in the mud.
What the TVA would
That
call a
fucking
nexus event,
suck.
or what Miguel O'Hara and Across the Spider-Verse would call a canon-breaking event. Then that event to the anchor would be what triggers that universe's demise. And if that anchor makes it all the way through their life and then just dies from old age or something like that, then maybe like the role of that being the anchor would be reassigned or inherited by some other individual from birth, like a kind of form of cosmic reincarnation. Unbeknownst to these individuals, a kind of designated survivor randomly selected to carry the torch. But I will say it's hard to distinguish between natural deaths and unnatural deaths, right? Because as you get older and you start to have more and more people in your life run into health complications, you'll understand this. But like, is it natural for someone in their 40s to die from a heart attack? Is it natural for someone in their 80s to just like trip while walking outside to get the newspaper and then bump their head and then die due to complications from that? What does it even mean natural causes? Just anything that's not murder? So that's why I've just adopted this Zen ABC's Lost final episode philosophy of we all die at some point and we all just end up going somewhere, and it doesn't matter how we died or when we died in our lives, whether that death point was by Infinity Stone radiation when we were in our 50s, by heart failure when we were in our 110s, or Thanos snapping our necks at age 10.
Okay, that's not fair.
Loki was
that's not fair.
That, in retrospect, was our time. And for any anchor, that
that's
time
straight
would
up
also
murder.
be their universe's countdown clock beginning. And I say countdown clock beginning because we don't know, based on Daniel's description, how long that countdown would take from the moment of the anchor's death. Like maybe in one universe, an anchor dies in the year 2023, and it takes
hate that guy.
for enough incursions to set in and finally erode that universe to the point of destruction in 2033. But what I like about this idea of anchors is that it follows the principle of Molecule Man in Hickman's Time Runs Out storyline, but it doesn't require viewers to have to get to know someone named Owen Reese, Molecule Man, and it doesn't require Kang variants to be assigned the role of this demolition tool. It allows anyone we've met in the MCU in all past eras of Marvel, like from the Fox eras, from Sam Raimi's trilogy, Spider-Man films, any of these characters to be reassigned as anchors to carry this cosmic burden, and then to potentially return in Secret Wars and come to grips with this cosmic meta importance. We want to thank Geology for sponsoring this video.
Motherfucker.
.ie/rockstars100 to get started. So if we assume Wolverine was the anchor of the Fox X-Men universe, who would be the anchor of the MCU? The Deadpool and Wolverine trailer hints that the MCU anchor could be Captain America Steve Rogers. The TV wall that Paradox shows Wade at past MCU moments seems to showcase Steve Rogers in particular. Wade even gives Cap a respectful salute, but he may note that Steve Rogers has not yet died as far as we know, but with his extreme old age, who knows how long that'll last, and his survival could explain why the 616 universe is still intact. Indeed, Steve Rogers was one of the most important characters to the MCU Infinity Saga, and Endgame ends by giving Steve his long-awaited dance with Peggy
But
Carter.
I would have wanted it to be Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man.
Steve Rogers as a possible anchor. He's willing to make the sacrifice play, but he also plants his feet and says, I can do this all day. I mean, that's kind of what an anchor says to the ocean floor, right? But to say that a previous era of Captain America is the all-important linchpin anchor of the entire universe might also suggest that his successor, Sam Wilson, is less important and that a more heroic sacrifice play.
See, that's exactly what I was saying. Like, he has someone to go take his spot. Someone established. Iron Man don't really have that besides that one girl, and she's not even all that. She's just kind of there. But it would have been, yeah. I'm thinking this can be Iron Man.
cosplay from the real Cap would be coming in Secret Wars. And I just don't think that Marvel Studios would want to undercut their new Captain America when in 2025
exactly
they're
what
gonna
I
want
was
Sam to get the
saying.
spotlight in Captain America: Brave New World. So
Exactly
what
what I
about
was
Wanda Maximoff
saying.
as the MCU anchor? Because her death, even though it was her death at the end of Multiverse Madness, seemed to align with further chaos in the MCU. She got the closest to killing Thanos one-on-one in Endgame, and as the Scarlet Witch, arguments can be made that the whole fabric of this reality hinges on her whims, and that without her, it all kind of falls apart. The Darkhold implied that her ascent to the Scarlet Witch was destined, and maybe part of that destiny was her fall as this universe anchor, foretelling the collapse of the whole universe. Similarly, there's Loki, who died at Thanos' hand in Infinity War, but a variant of him lived on in the Loki series, and later became the god of stories of the Sacred Timeline, holding it all together. If anyone is pulling the weight as an anchor of existence right now, it is Loki. And if this guy were to die, everything would truly fall apart. But my issues with Wanda and Loki are that as characters who were most activated during the Multiverse Saga on these Disney Plus series, and characters known for multiple variants of themselves, their cosmic destinies seem to be just beyond what the role of an anchor seems to be based on this description for Deadpool and Wolverine. It doesn't seem like it's their destinies to die as much as it's their destinies to like live on in new reincarnated forms. So we are really looking for a beloved Marvel hero who seemed destined to die, and whose death triggered a death spiral as the universe just seemed incomplete without them. And I think the obvious pick for the anchor of the MCU is Tony Stark. The MCU as we know it began with Tony Stark in the first Iron Man film in 2008, and nearly everything in the MCU thereafter rotated in his orbit. A majority of conflicts in the MCU were really the result of like Stark pissing someone off, or Stark technology getting in the wrong hands, or just powerful forces making moves in a world where Tony Stark existed. And right after Tony died, everything got real messy. One multiversal incursion risking event after another. Even Earth seemed to try to kill itself when Tiamat hatched out of it right after Endgame. I'm not saying Marvel Studios always planned it this way, but doesn't it seem like Deadpool and Wolverine has an opportunity to present the most epic mea culpa and self-own by acknowledging the malaise of the Marvel fandom post-Endgame and establishing that this universe might have just been designed in a way to need Tony Stark, and that without that anchor, the universe just feels imbalanced. And that's okay. We can make story out of that. I'm not saying that the MCU needs to live in the shadow of Tony Stark forever. There's plenty of great characters in this universe, but Marvel needs to just realign this world so that the viewers can accept it. Marvel still needs to build a universe with different anchors who can carry the same weight that fans view Tony Stark as carrying. That, I think...
exactly, because they just try to throw shit at us as soon as this, like, saga ended. Like, they didn't try to build upon it by having, like, these characters well established beforehand. Before they're like, oh, we're the replacement. They kind of just said, they kind of just threw the main cast of the Avengers away and said, okay, we're moving on now. They're not important anymore. And then they tried just throwing shit at us, thinking it was gonna work and stick to like how they introduced us to every other character. But they did it in a shitty way. They made shows. They're making movies that feel half-assed. But I don't know.
Will be the most important.
They're not well established.
Wars and of Deadpool and Wolverine in these first initial steps to introduce us to every multiversal anchor of every other universe to help us imagine worlds where anyone, maybe even Pyro, could have been the star. But to be clear, I do not think Deadpool and Wolverine will be about Iron Man. It's obviously going to be about Deadpool and Wolverine and their respective legacies to their past histories. But I do think this movie is going to give us a greater understanding of the MCU that Deadpool is now crossing over into. And I think it's going to take an outsider like Wade Wilson to acknowledge the sins that Marvel Studios made a star so bright with Tony Stark that it made it impossible for any other star to shine equally as bright. And that's what we need to fix with well established. Hey, comment down below with your thoughts. Follow me at DEADPOOL WOLVERINE.